Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's special live case study review. As we have people kind of jumping into the room here, I'm just going to take a moment to introduce our program today. My name is Sarah Bryant, and I'm the Senior VP of Corporate Development at dbaPlatform, where our mission is to get you found. And you already know that dbaPlatform is the premier software and solution provider for managing local presence at scale. And our focus is winning visibility for all your locations, whether it be on Google, Bing, all the platforms that consumers use in their buying journeys online. So today we have a cool topic. It's Google product listings and whether or not that drives store traffic. So this is cool because DBA really works in the digital world, but as we're finding, the digital world is now completely integrated with the brick and mortar world, and it's just like sorting out how all consumers are, behaving in their purchasing, whether it's online, in store, and what we're going to find is it's probably a really integrated combination. So if you're in retail, this is going to be a really good program for you today of interest. We have panelists that are guests from PivotPoint, which is a firm that specializes in retail marketing and data analysis. And they recently partnered with us to complete a case study and analyze this data. And you're going to see the results of that experiment today. So on the agenda, what is the power of search for retail? What's Google's innovation and response to all the local shopping trends that are happening? We're going to do a nice review of this local inventory case study. And we're going to talk about how local retailers can win with just using the information of how online and how Google inventory works, and how you can spin that into possibly a ton of traffic, but we'll leave the results to the experts to unveil. So one of the favorite parts you'll see on the agenda here, the last thing we do is a Q&A. It's very popular, and how we do it is that we collect all the questions during the presentation, where Greg and Aiden and Chris are going to kind of talk through how this is all working, and you're going to have questions. You'll have questions of clarification or how this applies to you, and you'll be able to pop those into the Q&A box. And then what we'll do at the end of the program is work on answering your questions in the order of the most popular first. So let me introduce the panelists that we have. Special guest Greg Squires is the founder and CEO of PivotPoint Retail, and his focus is on independent retailers. He provides marketing and commerce solutions, and in talking with Greg, his big deal is creating a lasting impact for small retail locations. Aiden Evans is the go-to guy for hundreds of local shops at PivotPoint Retail, and he provides point of sale integration and local product discovery. So he's that's right in the wheelhouse of what we're talking about here. And of course, Chris Lylde, our CEO at dbaPlatform. Before DBA, Chris was at Google for almost 10 years, leading go-to-market efforts across lots of different products. He's a Google expert, but he's also quickly becoming a Microsoft expert and an Apple expert and all things commerce expert. And I'm Sarah Bryant, and I'm your session concierge and fellow knowledge seeker as we try to figure out how to bring more consumers through our digital properties, and in this case, all the way to the retail store. So Chris, this is super exciting. We've been preparing for weeks, putting all these numbers together. Where should we start?
Well, let's start at the beginning. I think, we'll start with some things that you guys are probably really well aware of about, general shopping trends and how online is impacting offline progressively more, and certainly more after the pandemic. And I just want to say how excited I am to, share some of these findings that we've put together with the PivotPoint team. My specific job at Google, at least the last 5 years I was there, was helping retailers get their inventory on Google, and I was never able to share any results publicly because Google isn't always the best about sharing that type of information. So really excited to share with you those results. But let's start at the beginning about why it matters. This slide kind of talks about some things that I think we're all familiar with, that folks are doing their research online before they buy offline. And we got a couple of stats that relate to that. And this was a trend that we saw, happening before the pandemic, but the pandemic really, accelerated this trend where, the old days of wandering around a shopping center or wandering around a mall, looking for an item and hoping it was in stock was a lot less exciting when there was this deadly pandemic out there. So the notion of looking for what you're going to buy before you leave the house only got more popular during the pandemic, and something I think it's going to stay with us for a long time. And again, we have the opportunity for in-store shopping, and it does drive a lot more traffic because it's harder to do the impulse buy when you're kind of doing your point shopping online. I know when I'm buying my groceries, it's a lot easier for me to turn away that 12 pack of Coke when the delivery won't be until the next day, as opposed to when I'm walking through the store and I just see it and pick it up. So it's important to get people back in the stores. And fortunately, we're seeing some good trends in that direction. And when it comes to this research, search just dominates the other channels. And, a lot of people invest a lot of money in social. A lot of folks invest a lot of money in their website, as they should. But all of this really pales in comparison to search. It's where everybody starts their research. And frankly, I think a lot of times when people say they use the retailer site, well, they got to the retailer site through a search in most cases. So search is where it's at, and it's going to continue to be that way.
Yeah, these near me searches are certainly on the rise. I mean, the data is showing that there's a 10-year rise. My personal experience is I'm finding myself doing this more and more for all kinds of local needs. And I think one of the reasons I'm doing it more is I'm finding things when I do, it's sort of like I'm getting the positive response because many of these integrations have improved significantly. These connections of data of what's in stock in this store right now, the confidence level in that has gone up. The national retailers have, over the past 5 years, made a significant commitment to local pickup. COVID certainly forced more of that progress, but what that requires is confidence in inventory and then the connection of the data. So yeah, like you, Chris, I've had the joy of being at this for a while, 15 years of kind of navigating how Google is evolving and helping the local retailer, particularly the smaller shops, connect their data. And so excited to be here today and talk through some real results. But yeah, the near me, shop local, find it near me, the rise of that is significant. Some of these data points we can see, oat milk and mattresses and eggnog, Tylenol. People need things near them and they need them now. That's not going to change. And the expectation is that I'm going to be able to find it, and Google's delivering, and Bing, they're delivering on this. But part of what we're going to talk about is that it's actually kind of hard to make all this work and get all the connections done and get them to be reliable, which we'll talk about more here. So Aiden or Chris, any personal anecdotes you want to share about near me?
Well, I tell you what, one of the things in general as we look at these near me things is like the different way that we discover things. And it wasn't too long ago, I had I wanted to buy a bunch of lawn furniture and started my search around who carried that lawn furniture near me. And then when I got there and I purchased what I was going to purchase, then I wanted to get lunch near me, right? So there are searches that kind of start with where's the core item that I'm looking for, and then when I'm there, what else can I buy around there? What else can I eat around there? I think one of the things that's really interesting about this particular slide is that folks are searching both for specific brands and they're searching for categories, right? I don't think folks were doing a lot of searches for oat milk 10 years ago, probably because they didn't know what it was. But this is a great place to really capitalize on some of these new emerging trends. And you find a lot of these breaking brands where, maybe people that are really close to it might know about, like Hey Dude shoes. I can't tell you how many old folks like me I've put this slide in front of and had them go, what are Hey Dude shoes? But after I saw them for the first time, I look around and I notice there's a lot of kids wearing them. So it's really important that when these folks are out there looking for these new products and categories, that you're there ready to satisfy that need.
Yeah, speaking of kids, Takis near me. My kids, when they want their Takis, man, they want them now.
Mine too. I don't get it. I don't
Yeah,
get
it's
it.
so funny.
Addictive.
I always use Takis was one of the ones that I used to use as a grocery example.
Yeah.
Because when Takis came out, they weren't available everywhere. They're
Right.
only available in certain
Right.
stores. So like that's just a great example of
Well, and that one makes sense, but what was so surprising to me about this is like who searches Tylenol near me? Like, do you not know? Like, I would have made that leap and said, like, if I needed a Tylenol, I probably would go Walgreens or CVS or even 7-Eleven, or I might say like, you know, like a quick shop or something. I would try to solve the problem myself, but people are not doing that anymore. And that's a huge psychological shift in how people shop, is that they literally, and I mean, Coke near me, where can you not get a Coke? But that I mean, the numbers show that people are asking for like things that, I don't know, my generation would say you should know where to find that, but that's not how it works anymore.
well, again, that's why you got to catch people in a variety of different ways to search, right? You know, how they're starting their shopping journey. And you might think for something like what Sarah and I noticed the other day as we were kind of digging into this is that there's a huge spike for these things in July and August because you're on vacation and you don't know where the local store is, right? So the seasonality really starts to play in here too. So
Sure.
it's a broad consumer trend, and it's one that Google has really leapt on. And they've really, when you look at what Google is doing well and where Google is finding success, it's a lot to do with local because, you know, Apple's a big player in maps now and growing, but it's one of the areas where Google's pretty dominant. So it really behooves Google to capitalize on this trend. And they have, right? And so when you think about like how this looks at a high level, you know, you got a consumer, they're doing their search, and just kind of what we walked through yesterday. I mean, excuse me, just now in our previous little discussion here is, I know I'm doing that search for a Yeti cooler near me, right? And then the shopper is able to whittle down where, you know, the options that are available to them. They know the specific spots where it's in stock, and they're going to go there. And I think, you know, what'd be interesting maybe is to overlay this from when I was a kid, which was, golly, let's go to the mall and walk around until we find the thing that we were looking for, or maybe not. So it's a much more linear path. And even though we've got some you know, curly lines here, it's pretty linear. And so, you know, Google's taken this inventory feed and using it in a number of places. So you supply that inventory feed once, and after you put it there, Google's using it throughout the Google empire. So one of the places that shows up is it enables you to do these local inventory ads. So the ads that show up at the very top of the page. And what's interesting is there's some pretty cool stats where the ad in that first placement on mobile gets something like 80% of the clicks. And it makes sense, right? Look how much real estate of the screen that thing is taking.
Yeah.
So these local inventory ads, super critical, but you got to get that inventory feed up to enable it. And then just on search engine results, you know, that example we just showed where that gal did a search for Yeti cooler near me. What really matters more than ever before is showing up in that local 3-pack, you know. Excuse me. When I'm doing that search, Google's going to find the 3 best options for me. And this is kind of like the old days of saying, like, you have to be above the fold because people don't go to the second page of search engine results. The local pack is critical. And there are few things more powerful for a product search than providing that inventory data.
And on that note, I just read this yesterday that the map section, people trust that more than any other of the properties like ads or organic listings. And so the conversion rate for the map section is 500% higher than it is in organic and ads. I was like, that's huge. But I as a consumer, I feel that way. Like, I feel like what's in the map pack, because it's local, I know it's there, it's real, you know.
Well, and it's a ton of data in one little thing there. I mean, look, I got how many stars the place has. We all know it's skewed, but on a relative scale. I can tell if it's open now. I can tell they've got the product in stock. I can tell how far away it is from me. That's a lot of data in the half inch, maybe. So kind of, you know, going further, these local search results, Google is now putting these actually in the page. So it used to be all about the 3-pack, but when you scroll down now, they actually intersperse normal listings, your normal text listings out to websites with these free product listings. So if you do that Yeti Cooler Near Me search on your desktop browser right now, you're going to see the local packets, you're going to see the local inventory ads, the 3-pack, and then you're going to see on the endless scroll a bunch of product listings interspersed with local, with just text listings. And then see what's in store. I can actually, from within that Google business profile, there's like a little mini catalog there. So I can actually search and see which specific products they have once I actually determine that I want to visit Vision Ace Hardware.
Yeah. Yeah. And one of the great things about this is there are ways to get free traffic to your local products and to your local store. And that's what we're talking about, is connecting to get it free. I remember the years ago when Frugal let you get free online traffic, right? Those were the good old days. And Google, of course, has their business model to, have you pay for advertising to boost those. But there is a window of time here where it's to your incentive as a retailer and to Google's incentive to serve the shopper to get your inventory flowing, and you can get traffic without paying for it, right, Chris?
That's right. Yeah, there's that everything that I'm kind of running through here. Only that first bit, the local inventory ad, is a paid placement. And it's funny, Greg, because I actually had a customer asked me once, do you think Google's going to start charging for this? I'm like, no, this is what they make money. Do you know what Google's business model is? They take other people's information and they run ads against it. So this is highly valuable information that they can run ads against. So it's always going to be free. But like Greg said earlier, it's not easy to do for a lot of folks, right? So it's kind of rounding out where it shows up. They have now free local listings that show up on the shopping tab. Google Assistant now. So if I actually do an OK Google, where can I buy a Yeti Cooler near me? It's going to point out the folks that are giving me the inventory feed. And this is really interesting. For those of you that are on the new Google generative AI beta, we're starting to get a view of how this data is being shown in the new format. And if anything, it's just pulling that information up closer. When I correlate these results with what is being shown in the 3-pack, it's almost identical. And all of the folks that are showing up here are sending inventory feeds to Google, right? So in general, what we're finding is Google Business Profile used to be how you would tell the outside world about your business. It's becoming more and more how you tell Google's AI about your business, including photos and reviews, all those good things.
Yeah, I'm an early adopter of the generative AI, and I'm seeing this, blue screen, and Google's trying to help me ask different questions. So they're definitely moving, as they always do, to serve the shopper and change the game.
100%. And Greg, it's funny. I did a search like this because we're talking to a liquor store, and I was doing some searches, and I did a search for a whiskey brand, and the result was it gave me the address. The result was you can buy it here. It didn't have the name of the store, but I looked up the address and it was a store that carried the inventory. And so I was like, so we know that they're still figuring this out, what it might be, but if it's really as direct as, hey, where do I buy this? And they're like, over here, stupid. You got to make certain that you're telling Google so they can give that answer.
And then you say, okay, Google car, drive me there.
Well, it's funny. One of my old colleagues on the Chrome team is actually running the Waymo group now. And so I need to hit him up and see how well he's doing. Apparently he's doing awfully well.
Great.
So now on to the fun stuff, like I said earlier, I was out there pitching this at Google forever, and we were never able to share any results. So, it's really exciting that we're able to present this live case study of the great work that PivotPoint has done with their customers.
Yeah, 100%. And great to be able to share this from some of our customers, real local stores, putting in place fine local integrations. So I'll tell you a little bit about PivotPoint, just so you have some context. We're a brand that strengthens and serves local retailers. We love to work with independents, retail groups, retail networks, franchisors. Basically, if you've got one or many shops and you want to be able to connect your data through point of sale, drive local foot traffic through marketing programs, and then have insights on that point of sale data as it commingles together with other similar shops, you can learn some things your data you may not know already. We also power websites for retailers, and so one of our great customers is Parable Group. And so Parable Group is a network of 250 bookstores. We've served them for a long time, coordinated print and digital marketing, inventory intelligence, websites, and promotion planning. We effectively are, a marketing co-op group that serves a bunch of independents. And so next slide, got a couple of pictures of what some of these stores are. We've got Baker Bookhouse in Michigan, Arrowhead in New York, Dove Christian Supply in Alabama with our good friends Chip and Donna in Alabama. So these are real local brick and mortar shops that provide books and gifts to their local community. They're very missional, they're very purposeful in how they serve. And we just love retailers like this. It's in our blood. It's in our passion to help them.
100%.
So,
Greg, if I just comment really quick on this, and why I really love this slide is because, when local inventory was first made available, it was like Target and Walmart were the first, right? Because they were omni-channel. They had the same day pickup, all that kind of good stuff. They had the big teams that could do it. They had the ad budgets, all those kind of things. And the thing that always bothered me was that sometimes I felt like we were kind of disenfranchising independent business owners, that they were being put at a disadvantage. And so it's really, heartwarming for me to see, PivotPoint's commitment to bringing this kind of complex technology and making it work for local retailers.
100%. Yeah, so I'd love to hand it over to Aiden. Aiden, tell us more about what it's like to work with local bookstores and tell us what we did to help them.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's really a lovely experience working with these folks. They're some of the most highly effective and motivated retailers I've ever met. And I mean, they're just extremely efficient and effective at what they do. And part of what our service is to the industry is providing a state of the industry report on a yearly basis. And what we find is that they're always looking for new opportunities to expand their presence online and drive more traffic to their websites. But as we'll get into more as we proceed, there are some challenges and some stumbling blocks that get into the way. But they're very motivated, and we have the resources to serve them in those ways where they're looking to expand. So yeah, I think maybe if we move on to the next slide, we can see some picture of what we were facing and what we were trying to accomplish.
I'm sorry, Aiden, did you want to talk about like the lift here on these metrics here?
Oh, of course. Yeah, so this is just a broad picture of what kind of results we saw after integrating point of sale inventory data into Google through our partnership with dbaPlatform, and just stellar rises across the board. We pinpointed these three metrics: driving directions, business listing views, and new web users, for reasons I can explain a little bit and drill down into, but just ways of measuring new customer reach and general visibility online, and then web traffic, which feeds into foot traffic, as you and Greg were discussing earlier.
Yeah, this is a super critical, right? So I think this is really a lot of why we got folks to attend today. So I want to make certain we're covering it in detail. So when people look at Google business profiles, there's really two kind of types of metrics we look at. We look at visibility metrics and we look at engagement metrics. And so when we look at things like business listing views, right, that means that the business listing appeared more in the 3-pack because we saw that because of the local inventory lift that we've seen, right? So we added the local inventory, and as a result, the views appeared in the 3-pack 69% more frequently than they did before. And this is really critical in a near me search, because one of the things that is concerning some folks about the way Google, well, about what's happening with Google, is the rise of what are called zero-click searches. Meaning, I got all the information I needed on Google without ever having to go anywhere else, right? So that's where if you don't show up on that listing view, you could be out forever, right? Like that's one of the things about it. It really is like this is what people are using. So the listing view lift the local inventory is really critical. But then there's also when the engagement that we get, which is downstream of that. So because I'm getting more views, then people are interacting with my profiles more. And it's almost kind of like a store, right? You can entice people into a store, but they got to have a good experience when they get into the store as well. And so part of what that local inventory does by adding the see what's in store module and highlighting it and making it appear more in the listing, it's getting more people to interact with that listing, spend more time with that listing. And if I spend more time with that listing, I'm more likely to click over to a website. And most importantly, those driving directions.
And did you know that with all these stats we're talking about, just when somebody makes a near me search, research shows that 28% of those end in a sale. 28%. That's like, that rivals the close percentage of an in-person sale.
Yeah.
So if 28% of those searches end in a sale, you really, you have to be there in that 3-pack. You know, you want to be there because somebody's, you know, there's a 30, you know, third of those are going to turn into cash.
Yeah. And if they're not, I mean, if you're not in that 3-pack, they're going to drive right by. And one of the challenges that we found frequently is that because Target and Walmart would say we're ahead of the curve on this, the problem we had at Google was that like it would drive people way past closer options, right? So it's in Google's interest for everybody to do this because the consumer experience is going to be better. I don't want to drive an additional 40 miles that I had to in order to get my Yeti cooler. And so, and one last bit about this very important stat here on the driving directions. You know, we work with a major grocery chain, and Sarah, what was the basket size they attributed to every driving direction?
Well, they wanted to be super conservative. And so they pared down what they thought, like if somebody walks in the door, what that ticket is, and they got down to $50, but they thought realistically it might be more like in the 90s, but 50 is the number that they conservatively wanted to use.
So there's the number, right? So if I'm getting $90 every time somebody clicks the driving directions button, and people are clicking that 26% more, I'm not very good with math, but I can figure that out.
Yeah, that's more, and that's increased. That's what our stores, you know, our partner stores have said. They see these numbers and go, well, how can I not do this? If I'm in the dark, you know, not being found, how do I step into the light and get found? And yeah, we've just been really pleased with these remarkable results.
Well, and the concept is simple in that if you add inventory to your profile, there's not a lot in your profile. Google's looking to match things up, just like a website that has a lot of content. If you have a lot of content in your profile, it's going to get served more. And inventory is the way to just bulk upload all the keywords that anybody would ever ask for, like Tylenol, Coke. I mean, that's all your inventory. And so, I mean, it's actually kind of ridiculously logical. But I think you're going to tell us about why it's still difficult.
Yeah, well, I think then the next slide kind of talks through the challenge. You know, we hit on this a bit. Aiden talked about how in our annual report, we hear from retailers, I need to be found online. I want to drive more local traffic and I want to get everything connected. You know, I need to modernize all those things that every small local business, whether you're 1 or 25 stores, you know, you're thinking about these things. And so many local retailers run into challenges with getting this done. And the goal here is reduce the challenges, make the connections easier, simpler, faster, and without technical inhibitions.
100%. I mean, it's these are challenges, right? I mean, like, you know, local retailers, a lot of times they don't have the resources of a Walmart, you know, to handle all of these things. So, you know, when a partner like, you know, PivotPoint comes along and they can kind of streamline the process and kind of democratize the whole thing, that's where we want to get to.
Yeah, so around the solution, what did we do? Aiden, talk a little bit about the steps we took to connect retailers.
Sure. Yeah, well, I feel like in one sense we had maybe half the problem solved because we did have integrated point of sale data, meaning detailed, up to the date accurate inventory for all these stores, over 200 bookstores across the US. It was just a matter of utilizing that data and putting it into Google, which is where we just didn't have the means or the capability. And not to mention that Google's requirements for verifying product are significant and can present a sort of stumbling block to many retailers. So having that inventory on hand and having a unified web platform that we could direct shoppers to were resources we had, but we needed DBA's expertise with Google to sync that inventory and make it visible actually in Google results.
Yeah, that's great. That's kind of, that's our bit, right? We help great platforms kind of extend out and work with Google, and it's been a real joy working with the PivotPoint team.
And I just want to remind everybody who's listening, if you have questions about any of this, like how, sometimes, we've been so deep in it that, if there's a curiosity that you have about how this all works, pop it into the Q&A and we will answer that.
Great. I think the next slide, Chris, talks about the results and shows the numbers again. We talked about 26% increase in driving directions, increased online user acquisition, business profile views, but we've added a data point here, product impressions. Tell us more about that.
Well, so I'm sorry, Aiden, you want to cover that one?
Oh, sure. Well, this is the big one, right? Because we want to ensure that products are reaching Google users who are entering local searches and eager to find a local option. And I think the reality is that when they're presented with a local option next to the big box retailers, they're more likely to choose that local option. So we've been just very, very pleased with just the sheer number of product impressions that we're seeing. And this is a Google user seeing a product listing in front of them, and the numbers speak for themselves, I think.
Yeah, well, and a lot of these products, because these are book and gift shops, are like author near me, book title near me, and Hallmark cards, think gift items. And so it's category, product, and brand. And, these stores were not found in Google previously for those kinds of searches. And now they are, and several thousand a day across a small group of stores is pretty significant.
Yep, and we know if we drive them to the store, they'll probably buy that, but then also hang around and do some impulse shopping.
100%.
No, one additional trend that kind of occurred to me as Aiden was talking about preferring to buy local. There's the altruistic reason why you want to buy local. But also, I don't want to drive all the way out somewhere far away. And what's interesting is when you look at the shift to work from home, you've got a lot of these big box retailers that have been particularly successful at local inventory, but they're situated at the intersections for major commute areas, right? Like over the intersection of 85 and 285, because everybody would drive by there on their way to work. And so now a lot of these folks well, Best Buy isn't as convenient for everybody as it used to be because people aren't commuting as much. So take that opportunity to say, look, it's not only that people would love to support local business, but people aren't driving by the big box stores every day like they used to.
Well, and that altruistic thing of supporting the little guy is cool. But as a consumer, I'm starting to feel like if I don't start supporting these smaller businesses, I'm going to be left with only, I'm going to have to buy my clothes at Costco.
Yeah.
That's going to be my only choice.
Well, candidly, it's one of the problems that Google has, right? Google doesn't want to live in a world of 4 big retailers. They want to live in a world of a boatload of retailers, none of whom have pricing power.
Yep.
Yes.
Lots of them, lots of choice. Yeah, so like we said earlier, we love to see retailers winning. So a market report for the first half of 2023 is we're seeing store sales up 8.6% across this group of bookstores, which is better than last year even. And even better that retailers can get improved results with little to no effort. So, we're doing a lot of the heavy lifting and hooking the wires. Good news, we're rolling out to more stores and more retailers saying, yep, I need more of this. The results are compelling to add from what the data we already have. So we're really pleased, and I think we've kind of made the point that the data is significantly improved. We took these steps, and here's how we did it, and it's been a good partnership with DBA thus far this year.
100%. And I think this data is only going to get more important as time goes on. And, with the PivotPoint team is really great at getting folks onboarded quickly. So love the partnership and looking forward to getting more small businesses onboarded.
Yeah, so we wanted to talk toward the end of our time here and before questions of how any local retailer can win. So if you're on the call today, you're a local retailer and you're thinking, okay, I want to do this. I need to get found in Google search. The ways that we do it, a little bit under the hood of how PivotPoint works, is we do connect to point of sale with inventory and transaction information. And we connect to many of the popular point of sale systems, got a sampling of a dozen here. And one of the things we do is we do work with retailers to either take their existing POS or adopt a cloud point of sale and get the inventory connected in a reliable, refresh kind of way. So that's sort of the first part of how we engage and help.
Greg, if I just make a quick comment here. So interestingly, when I was at Google, I was responsible for doing partnerships with a number of point of sale providers, including a few folks on this list. We did get a lot of those integrations done, and over the course of time, the point of sale folks pulled out of them because they weren't able to provide the complete solution and service that a PivotPoint can, right? So what's interesting is that these kind of big companies that are focused on just these POS angles, they haven't really been able to cover the Google thing particularly well. And again, I know what some of these other integrations have been. I know what PivotPoint's done. PivotPoint has done everything that we wish some of these bigger players have done, and it's exciting to see them continuing down that path.
Sure. Yeah, these do need, the integrations need to be maintained and monitored. And the other thing is, if you're using like a Lightspeed and every one of these, the data is your data, and we're just playing the connector role to bring it down and push it up to where it needs to go, and give you all the tools to control, how and where it goes. Another part of the ecosystem is a unified web customer experience. So your website's got to be smooth. It's got to have online inventory, and it's frankly difficult to run a local shop and have local inventory, sync with the website, sell online, and manage fulfillment and e-commerce. So we have a solution that helps retailers do that. It's a common platform, works great for multi-door retailers, retailer networks, franchisors. If you've got groups of retailers that have common product, PivotPoint solution can help run a website. We do this for Parable, offer local pickup and shipping and all those things. And the one main value there is tying in inventory and ensuring that you can have the right product information for your shop synced in with your site. It's really challenging to do, and it takes a ton of time. But when done, at some form of scale, more than a one store, you get the benefit of a group of retailers working together to pull that off.
And one thing that's really exciting about that local inventory connection with PivotPoint is that Google, and this, I don't want to get in the weeds on this too much, but for the ads, for the local inventory ads, there is a landing page that has to satisfy a series of Google's requirements.
Yeah.
We've partnered up with PivotPoint to enable that. And so this is one of the additional built-in things that Greg and Aiden and team have kind of pre-thought out for all y'all.
Yeah, like Aiden said, there are inventory requirements. Like Chris said, there's also landing page requirements. And those, frankly, are stumbling blocks that Google has put in place to ensure quality, but it makes it difficult to be, a single shop to get this done, which is how we're trying to help lower the barriers.
Yeah, I mean, Walmart does it every day. They've got more resources.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, so just a couple other quick things. Another part of what PivotPoint does is we bring point of sale information together with a common group of retailers, whether it be bookstores or a franchisor of a common product, is we build an insights platform that helps you discover what you may not already know from your data. What are you missing that you could be selling? What are some opportunities for replenishment from your suppliers? So that's what PivotPoint Insights does, and really just helps discover what's working, what's not. And it's super helpful for local shops to do that in partnership with their brands.
That's right. And part of the insights data now is that, like that you get when you're a PivotPoint customer is that you get access to, your Google Business Profile results. And, when we talk about product inventory views, all that data is available to you all. And you can actually see which products are being viewed the most too, right? So it's an additional data point to, these are the top items that are selling in your area. These are the top items that people are viewing on Google that are related to your business. Good stuff.
Yep, and tying that all back as we get to the last slide here is, sure, we're driving local traffic and we want to have organic listings so we can have particular products and found. And then of course, there's the opportunity to boost those listings so you can get even more visibility, and having a partner that can be a hands-on marketing partner that knows your inventory and knows your data and knows your shop. That's another way that we often help local retailers. So we wanted to help you all see, as you're joining in today, how you can win too, and how there's ways to lower the barriers to get your inventory connected and get shoppers flowing to your store.
Dynamite.
So we would love to chat with any of you. One of the things that we often do with retailers is a free health assessment. So we can look at all the connection points, point of sale, website, how you're doing with e-commerce if you're selling online. So feel free to reach out to me or Aiden, send us a note, and we'd love to spend a few minutes and just get to know you, and also do any kind of health assessment as we compare what you're doing compared to some of our most successful stores.
All right.
Well, you guys did a great job going through all this information, which led to only one question in the Q&A box.
Must be thorough.
Well, fire them up. If anybody wants to know anything about retail inventory, now is the time. I know it's complex. I mean, we spend our whole lives, on meetings with Google, with partners, because it's the new frontier, of all this integration. And it's hard to get information from Google. They don't have like a tech support you can call and ask these questions to. So, we try to do that for you by being in all these forums and testing these things and being part of the betas and seeing how they're working. So if you have questions about how inventory works and, in any detail, go ahead. Now's the time. Pop a question in. We do have one, and that is, are there any restrictions on the type of products that can be listed in the free listings? Good question.
Yeah, there are restrictions around drugs, pharmaceuticals, some controversial products you might imagine. Interestingly, alcohol is allowed. So most stuff is. And if you're in a business that might not be suitable.
Well, I know sometimes we get questions about this program and inventory from sometimes like florists, people who build their basically like custom products. That's tricky because those don't have universal, product numbers and things like that.
No, that's a good delineation, Sarah. So to be clear, what we're talking about here are products with a SKU, products with either a G10, which is a globally assigned UPC, or if you have a manufacturer parts number, we can do it with that. But most manufacturers use the G10 standard. If you're a florist or someone that's doing kind of like one-off, like custom craft things, the product inventory feed is not a fit for that. There is a mechanism in Google Business Profile to manually add products.
Here's a question that gives me a question. So this is a meta question. The question is, what QSR brands are doing a good job at this? And my add-on question is, what is a QSR?
Well, a QSR is a quick service restaurant.
Oh.
And the truth is like that. So the feeds aren't a fit for restaurants, right? So the feeds are really a fit for retailers and auto dealers. So there's auto inventory and there's product inventory. When you're talking about menu items, there's menu items that appear on the menu, obviously. But when you look at the things that a quick service restaurant might be doing with their Google Business Profile that's impactful, there's a lot of things. Whether you're a retailer or a restaurant, you got to respond to reviews on an ongoing basis. right? There's a quality score element to your Google business profile, and giving timely reviews, responses is part of it. You know, populating with fresh images on a regular basis, uploading videos, filling out all the various components, you know, of all the services you offer. There's an opportunity to do Google Business posts, which are social posts with offers. So if you're running a promo like a, you know, buy one sandwich get one free, you should be doing that with posts. McDonald's does it really well, right? Not surprisingly, the big guys do it really well. However, you know, very few of them do it as well as they should. So there's still room for growth. I think one of the big opportunities there is, how do we get people to buy more stuff at a restaurant, right? It's you know, a bigger basket. It's less about finding a particular product.
Yeah, restaurants have a lot of work to do. I don't know if you guys have tried to order recently, but it's like you can't find the menu. It's not standardized. Like I would order so much takeout food if there weren't so many obstacles to getting it done.
So this question here about what's your take on sites like Etsy with unique needs but still pay for ads? And so that's a really good question. And this goes back to like that slide we had earlier about a brand search as opposed to a category search. So first of all, people buy their own names, right? They buy their own names to make certain that they appear first for their own names, right? So that's one reason. But the other thing is when I upload the inventory and I have those ads up there, I'm not specifying if it's an Etsy ad or not. It's a product ad, product search. So I might not know who I'm going to buy this product for. I just want to know who has the product, right? So it kind of starts with where the search starts. So maybe Etsy's not the best example because Etsy tends not to be issues with, you know, products with SKUs. Maybe a better example might be Lululemon, meaning like, well, why would Lululemon need to buy these ads? Because people know they're going to go to Lululemon or not. So what you do is Lululemon might be searching something that you hadn't thought of, right? Like we got beanies now. All right, well, I got a beanie I can buy now. I'm looking for a hat. Oh yeah, I hadn't thought about Lululemon. They have hats, right? So the notion that we can predict what customers are going to search for and have it all covered, it ain't going to happen. I mean, it goes back to the Coke near me searches. Who would have thought that people were searching for Coke near me? So long story short,
or how they search. And we had this debate about healthcare maybe 2 weeks ago because we were talking to healthcare providers, and you know, healthcare providers don't want to really necessarily do ads. It's weird to them. They know they have to promote their network and their facility, and but it's weird to them to put an ad up, a pay-per-click ad for their, you know, podiatrist services, right? And
yeah.
But so we get that question a lot about why would you put up an ad when you are the name that will come up organically? And the reason is to keep competitors from pilfering your traffic when people are looking on a direct search for you. And so there's a million things to think of.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, in the case of Audi, right? Like we're doing some work with them, and like so Audi, you know, if I'm going to buy an Audi, why do I need to advertise an Audi? You know, why do I need to work on my listing? Because if you work on your listing, you're going to have more engagement with your listing, which results in more clicks to your dealership or your store, right? So even if I'm like a retailer like Purple Mattress or whatever, and I've got a couple of retail stores and I only sell one brand, there's still value in doing the local inventory.
And we have a couple questions about just the technical aspect of doing this program, like, and I would interject, like, you know, the program that PivotPoint did with DBA, you know, what is that called? How long does it take? What are the costs associated with it? And of course, those are variables, but do you guys want to talk a little bit about what it takes to do this? So like, is it a huge lift or?
Yeah.
Well, if anybody's interested on being like a partner of DBA, that's kind of like a different path. But Greg and Aiden can talk about how long it takes a PivotPoint customer to get their inventory flowing on Google.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I mean, obviously it depends. How long does it take? Depends on the point of sale that you're on. There's some that are real quick and easy to connect. It can happen in a day. Depends on the product catalog that you're using and what UPC matching you have, and that is often related to the website platform that you're using and how you're running your digital assets. So we can do it in a day. Sometimes it does take some back and forth, couple weeks if we're going to be connecting to a new system. But we've done it dozens of times. And it also depends, if you talk about pricing, it just depends on the number of stores. So, if we're talking about 1 to 5 shops, it's a certain fee. And if it's 5 or 25 or a larger group, we'd definitely be able to do kind of a bulk deal where it's a low monthly fee per month per store, where we're able to power this on behalf of a larger group, depending upon the scope of services. So getting it going and making the connections. If you have a specific situation where you can tell us the number of stores, the point of sale you're using, and what your website and catalog situation is, we can help work through feasibility, timing, and what it would take.
Yeah, and I would definitely, if you think you're interested in that, take them up on that retail health assessment, because you're going to get tons of great information, on next steps and things that you can do to kind of ride the wave of the trend. There was one question in here I just wanted to address, because Chris did mention it earlier, but somebody asked about costs associated with the program, and then put pay-per-click question mark.
Yeah.
And do you want to just say that one
yeah,
again?
it's a simple answer. I mean, so the local inventory ads there at the top of the page, that is pay-per-click. So if nobody clicks on it, you don't pay anything. If they do click on it, you do participate in an auction to pay for that. Now, all the other things that we ran through, whether it's the local search engine results, whether it's the Google Assistant tie-in or the See What's in Store module, all the other things are free, at least from Google's perspective. As long as you can get the data to Google, Google has no charge for that. I don't anticipate that ever changing. The local inventory ads are among Google's most popular ad formats, and are being rolled up into the overall Performance Max ad format, which we'll probably do a webinar about in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, so inventory is free to put up. Probably everybody will be doing that at some point. The question is, just like any of these technologies, if you do it first, you have a chance of getting ahead and getting some real headway. If you do it last, you'll be doing it to catch up, and there won't be much competitive advantage to doing it. Just kind of playing catch up.
Well, like the bad news, everyone's got to do it. Everyone's got to do it. You're invisible if you don't do it. I don't know what to say. I mean, it's kind of like, I don't know how many old people there are like me, but you used to have to be in the phone book. No one was going to call you if you weren't in the phone book. And then you had to be in the yellow pages if you wanted to break through. This is just the yellow pages. You have to be there. There's no choice. You must do it. Sorry.
Yep. So making it painless for yourself. And the good news is, from Google's perspective, it's free. You can run ads on it. That's the cherry on top. That is a little bit of a, what we call blue ocean in a lot of these platforms, because not everybody has inventory to do it. So if you do, you kind of open that door for yourself of opportunity. And I think, let's see, we have answered all the questions in record time. Chris, your webinars, man, they must be just really smooth, because we get through the questions and we are good.
Well, time is money.
Time is money. You must do it. That's Chris.
That's right. That's the bottom line. You must do it. All right.
Yeah.
You must do it and call us.
Yes. And if you want more reasons why, they'll be on the next webinar, which we are having. Let me check. July 27th. We'll be talking more about local presence, how to create more of this local presence at scale. Everything having to do with so many things are coming out right now. We have lots of new programs. Chris threatened me with an inch of my life to say which topic we're going to do, because that's how hot off the presses things are happening right now. We had a topic, but we might preempt it. So join us. You'll get some invitations for July 27th. And Greg and Aiden, any last thoughts?
I just want to say thanks for facilitating our conversation today. So, like I said, remarkable results helping a local retailer brings us joy. So fun to share that, and yeah, appreciate the chat.
Yeah, great. And for anybody who hasn't already, please join us on our private Facebook group at dbaPlatform. If you have and more specific questions, you're looking for the recording, things like that, you're welcome to join us. Luke is standing by right now to let you in if you want to head over to the Facebook group, and he put that link into the chat for you. And we will see you in a couple weeks. Enjoy the rest of your July, everybody. And Greg and Aiden, thank you so much, not only for doing this today, but being such excellent partners in getting a lot of this work done, that came well before the case study.
Our pleasure.
Awesome.
Sounds good.
Thank
Thanks
you
so
all.
much.
We'll
See you
talk real
guys soon.